which means more E3 madness with IGN Live. Right now, let's switch gears to the highly anticipated MMO, The Elder Scrolls Online. This universe has been begging for the MMO treatment for quite some time now, so let's see how this game is shaping up.
As I live and breathe, Paul, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming by. I'll tell you what, kids on IGN, they've been talking about this Elder Scrolls a long time, this online MMO game. They're like, all right, great. I'm like, I'll check in, I'll look on my PC, and then PS4 announcement. Well, now I am sold, ladies and gentlemen. Paul, what is this game in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, it's the first time you've been able to play Elder Scrolls online. So that means you can play it with your friends. It's set 1,000 years in the past from where Skyrim was, which is this great period of history.
Sure.
And it's a super engaging game. It's got, real-time combat, large progression system, crafting, everything you expect out of Elder Scrolls.
So then, again, from the PlayStation perspective, I know the Beyond fans will murder me if I don't ask. Was it weird starting talks with Sony after, Skyrim had some problems on the PS3?
Yeah, so everybody's been great, about this, and we're super excited to, bring it to the consoles. For an MMO, it's not always common that you get to come out on consoles, and so that's something we're really looking forward to.
So, for doing this game in general, what was the mantra to making it? I mean, Elder Scrolls is this franchise everyone universally loves. You know what I mean? What did you want to bring it to an MMO space with?
One of the things that we sat down and did right away was we said, hey, what is it we like about MMOs and what is it we like about, the Elder Scrolls franchise, right? And when you look at that, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it really engaging. That means taking away a lot of the interface. So as you're seeing, some of the pictures here, you're kind of seeing...
It looks like some environments.
Yeah, so it's going to be really clean. We don't have a lot of interface elements on the screen, and that's super important because it gets you engaged. It's getting you looking at this beautiful art that you see, and it really brings the world to life. One of the other big things was combat. Again, I touched on it briefly, but it's making sure that combat is visceral. You really feel it, so you just get to actually swing your sword instead of pressing a button and waiting for a cooldown. Exactly, and that's super important.
So for somebody who's getting introduced to the game for the first time, maybe at E3 now that they know it's a console game, what are they getting in terms of gameplay? Is it third person? Is it first person like Skyrim?
We just recently announced first person mode.
Yeah.
When we started out, we wanted to make sure third person mode was really good because in an MMO, in a live game, you want that situational awareness. But first person brings such a depth of engagement to the game that it's something that we felt was really important. So here you'll see somebody picking a lock, for instance, on a chest. It's these interactive elements, this engagement that comes through in first person that was really important to get, into the MMO space and make it the next, big chapter in the Elder Scrolls saga.
Now here, we see that they're using mouse and keyboard. For PlayStation 4, is the controller going to be a challenge for you guys to make all of this work?
I think the great thing about controllers is that it helps you simplify things in a lot of ways. It helps you simplify your thinking, what that does is it allows you just to think about the game itself and the gameplay. So, we want to make sure that the keyboard and mouse really works well so the user interface will be different from the console version than it will be for the PC version, but it's still going to be that same great experience. All the game that you're seeing here.
You got me. We're stealing bread. Reading about cheese, this sounds like an Elder Scrolls game. I'm getting the good Skyrim vibes back. That's what I wanted. You talked about it yourself, that MMOs on console aren't a common thing, really, right? You've seen 3 Realms of DC Universe Online, really, and now I guess Eve Dustford to an extent. What about next gen? What about PlayStation 4 made it you guys think, all right, this is the time, this is impossible?
Yeah, so, it's something we would always wanted to do, which is get it on the console. But I think the beauty of it is the fact that these consoles are so powerful, and right now it's the next gen is coming on, so that means they're about at, pace with PC and Mac. And so that's what allows us to bring it so easily is because we're kind of at that parity level right now.
Do you see next generation making your life as a developer easier? I mean, in your studio's life easier as well, right? It had to have been a bitch for Skyrim to go PC, 360, PS3, and have them all kind of be a little bit different.
Yeah, anytime you develop on multiple platforms, it's always going to be a little bit more difficult. But I think the fact that, from, both Sony and Microsoft, they're absolutely committed to making the development process as easy as possible. And so I think that's going to be great for us.
So now, I know we're early with the Elder Scrolls. How much can you tell us about, are you supporting the Holy Trinity, DPS, healer, tanks? what's happening in story, anything like that? Can we get into yet?
Yeah, let's talk about progression a little
Great.
bit, right? So with progression, one of the things you get is when you choose a class, and you have 4 classes in the game, that kind of fit what your typical role might be.
Sure.
So we have like a Dragon Knight, we have a Sorcerer, a Templar, and we have the Nightblade. And what that does is that allows people to kind of just start off very comfortably with their fantasy, but then it really opens up because that defines like 3 skill lines that you get, based off your class
Sure.
choice. But then you have a skill line based off your race choice. If you join the Fighters Guild, you get a new skill line. If you join the Mages Guild, you get a new skill line. So really, as you play more and more, you keep getting new skills, and that opens up this world to where maybe you started off playing, with the mage with the staff,
Yeah.
but since you can equip any weapon and you can equip any armor, the whole thing is really just about your choice and the way you want to play. So you can be a 2-handed sword of, lightning bolt slinging sorcerer.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, that sounds pretty good. And it sounds, are you seeing are you imagining, at least I should say, for players the transition between Skyrim to this to be pretty easy?
Yes.
Is this really just online Skyrim? Not that I'm trying to take away from what it is, but
Right.
it sounds like it is, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so when you're looking here, for instance, what you'll see people playing together.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's kind of, for us, that's what makes this so special. So it is very much like Skyrim. You have a lot of those same, major stories, the quest. For instance, if you're out to save, a princess, or, here we're out to kind of end a Daedric prince's influence in a certain place, and then all of a sudden, there's something over to the side here. You see a dungeon.
Yeah.
That the way that the world is developed, the way the content's developed, is to make sure we engage the player, a lot in the world itself.
Now, I think we've already seen some of it, but just to make sure, we're having PvE and we're having PvP?
Absolutely. So PvP takes place in Cyrodiil, which was where Oblivion took place. And so it's this huge mass. And we have 3 different alliances that the players choose from to start out in the game. And so when they pick an alliance, if they go into our PvP section, then that alliance is trying to crown an emperor. And by being emperor, it's kind of like the major thing you want to do. You kill other players. There's huge siege battles. There's boiling oil. It's fantastic.
So you talked about, this is taking place, at least that part, in where Oblivion took place.
Right.
Are we going to be participating in the events we've read about? I mean, the Elder Scrolls has such a rich history. Are we going to be part of those things?
Absolutely. One of the things that we did early on in the project was we read all of the books in the game.
Gosh,
right?
oh my God. Early on, that must have been 8 years ago for you to get through it all.
Yeah. And we took the stories that we liked best and we said, well, how do we get those stories into the game so players can actually play some of those stories?
Yeah.
So we have some great nods, like we have the Battle of Glenumbra Moors, and we have a lot of different things that players have read about that all kind of just frame where the game is taking place and what you do in the game.
I just look at this B-roll and I just see hours of my life being sucked away in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Paul, when is it coming out? When can people get the Elder Scrolls Online?
So they'll be able to play the Elder Scrolls Online, PC, Mac, Xbox One or PS4 in spring of 2014.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have plenty more games that will be sucking all of my life away coming up on the show. And to tell you all about them is the princess I'd give anything to save, Naomi Kyle.
Looking good, Greg. IGN Live at E3 marches on, but we want to hear from you, of course. Tell us which game you want to win IGN's People's Choice Award for E3. So just type in go.ign.com/E3 People's Choice. Now, let's get a new look at Outlast, which was also just announced for the PS4. That's coming up next.